Has this ever happened to you? The last time you used the RV, you were sure that you fully dumped the tanks, only to open the cap a few weeks later and get doused with a quart of holding tank water. If so, you are not alone. While not all RVs do this, plenty of them do, and there are a couple of things you can do to prevent this from happening in the future. But first, let's see why this is happening in the first place. Here we have a graphic representation of a RV, and as we look at it, we see that it does have a coroplast bottom, so let's get rid of that. And then we can see the three holding tanks. We can get rid of the cabin as well, might be easier to see. So here we have the three holding tanks, and actually, even though this is a trailer and not a fifth wheel, this is exactly the way mine is. We have the holding tank here, the gray tank here, and the galley tank behind it. And you can see where the tanks are really shallow. And also, you can see the culprit is the interconnecting sewer line is flat, which impedes drainage. Ideally, it should be at somewhat of an angle so that the contents can flush out. In the building trades, the conventional wisdom is that sewer pipes should have a slight angle to them, approximately 1/4 inch per foot. So in my RV, that means there should be a 1 inch or slightly greater angle to the sewer pipe from the curbside to roadside. However, when I modified my waste valves to electric operation last year, I confirmed that the sewer lines were flat and level. If the angle is not great enough, then the contents will not drain out. If the angle is too high, the solids and liquids will separate and the solids will never drain out. And that holds true for buildings. However, in RV, it's my belief that the drainage angle can be much greater than in a home for the following reasons. First, the RV has a holding tank where in the building, the sewer line goes directly to the sewer. The holding tank in the RV will contain mostly flush water with some solids, and that stuff may be sitting in the tank for up to a week. This results in the solids breaking down, so on flush day, the tank will contain mostly liquid. If you don't believe me, and this is the yucky part, you can confirm this by using a clear hose adapter and watching the contents go by. You will see a chunk every once in a while, but it is indeed mostly liquid. Secondly, there could be 20 to 40 gallons of liquid in the tank when it is drained, and that is a lot of water pressure. So in reality, anything that is not glued into the tank is going to come out. For these reasons, the RV manufacturers could use a greater angle in the sewer line to help it drain out. In fact, my previous RV, a Class C, did have a greater sewer line angle, and I never had the quart of Pew splash out when opening the cap. So why don't all RV manufacturers do a better job at designing the drain systems? Well, again, it's money. It seems to be a trend in the RV industry that it is cheaper to do something incorrectly than it is to do it right. So why the quart of poo after you have drained the system? If the sewer line has no slope in your RV, or if you happen to level the RV at the campsite with the curbside slightly lower, then that quart of liquid goodness will remain in the sewer line. Then as you travel to the next destination, with the RV bouncing all over the road, the contents will eventually find its way behind the sewer camp, ready to douse you when you open it. So what is the solution? There are actually several solutions that should be used in combination. Which ones are effective, though, depends on your RV's hardware. If your inner ear can tolerate it and you are at a full hookup site, level your RV a bit towards the roadside. The discharge port on many RV holding tanks is at the low point, so it will drain regardless of the exact levelness of the RV. Next, you can buy an aftermarket valve to attach at the cap location. This is probably the best solution as it always works, although it is somewhat annoying to have to contend with another valve. Finally, if you have an RV with an automatic leveling system and again are on a campsite with full hookups, you can bump when you dump. To do this procedure, after the tanks are fully drained, use the manual function of your leveling system and bump the RV towards the roadside to allow that quart of poo to drain. Of course, if you don't have full hookups and you have to use a dump station, this procedure is not practical, but you get the idea. Okay, so now you know more than you ever wanted to know about dumping, but hey, it's better than getting an unattended shower. Visit RV-project.com.